Onwurah is a British Member of Parliament representing Newcastle upon Tyne Central. She is also Shadow Minister Digital Science and Technology and has held positions leading on cybersecurity, social entrepreneurship, civil contingency, open government and transparency. She continues to encourage women in STEM as well. Due to a schedule change, unfortunately, she was unable to join us today, but we spoke with her yesterday to record a special speech for Wired Live audience. Please welcome Onwurah.
Hi, I'm Onwurah. I'm the Labour MP for Newcastle Central and also the Shadow Digital Science and Technology Minister. And it is a real pleasure to give a keynote at Wired Live. I still think of Wired as the Rolling Stone magazine of tech. And it's sad to say, but both as an engineer and a politician, this is probably the closest I will come to rock and roll. Plus, it's good to engage with another entity that survived the 2001 dot-com crash. That is the Paleozoic era of tech before the dinosaurs. So yes, my background is in technology, which is why it's so great to talk to a wired audience. I worked as an electrical engineer for 20 years before entering Parliament, and I'm still a chartered engineer, and I am proud of that. As an engineer, I worked all over the world, helping to build out the networks, fixed, wireless, and mobile, which became the internet. I am proud of my work and what it became, the internet, which enables people to better communicate and connect, has brought people together, democratized information, and diminished distance. And particularly through the Internet of Things and AI, has a major role to play in addressing the existential threat, which is climate change. And never has the enabling role of tech been so clear and mattered so much as during this terrible pandemic, when physical closeness has literally become antisocial. But technology has enabled a different kind of togetherness. Simple online grocery shopping has been praised by the Centre of Better Aging for improving the quality of life for the elderly. Joe Wicks has been praised by parents across the country as the nation's virtual PE teacher. WFH, working from home, is not praised enough for maintaining parts of our economy beyond the virus's reach. The pandemic has made a virtue of the virtual. And the Office for National Statistics has found that a majority of people feel empowered by the ease with which they can access digital services. So it's a surprise that the small businesses didn't go online was lack of time. Well, suddenly, with the help often of local authorities and the platform providers, they bolted online. And the elderly, dismissed by some as the digitally backward, have seen the greatest increase in time spent online, up by a quarter since January, according to Ofcom. And that is a good thing. One of the reasons I went into engineering was because I saw technology as democratizing and enabling. I remain a tech evangelist. I always say I entered politics for exactly the same reasons I went into engineering, to make the world work better for everyone. And I believe that technology and politics are the two greatest engineering engines of progress that we have. And that's why I called this keynote In Tech We Trust. It is through science and innovation that the human race has progressed. From sharpened stones to mobile phones, we have always innovated to survive, live longer, live better. Digital is in some ways the ultimate manifestation of that, an enabling technology which is both ubiquitous and universal. Previous revolutions may have given us more to eat, in the case of farming, or more to consume, in the case of industrial revolution, but the digital revolution gives us a whole parallel life, or rather extends all our lives into a different dimension. We have length, breadth, depth, time, and online. But no, that metaphor doesn't really work, does it? Online is not some fundamental characteristic of the universe. But after 10 Zoom meetings, I know it can feel that way. Technology is something we shape as much as it shapes us. More actually. The innovation economist Mariana Mazzucato says that innovation has a direction as well as simply a rate. Technology is something that just is not something that just happens to the world. It's something we develop and for whose impact we are all responsible. Technology is made for people, not people for technology. In speaking as a legislator, as well as an engineer, and the digital spokesperson for the Labour Party, the party of the people, it is right that we actively consider the impact of technology on people's lives. I make it clear, I believe technology can be empowering and democratizing, but I also believe it's currently failing to reach that potential in a number of important ways. First, tech remains the preserve of a narrow demographic. For example, the proportion of women in tech roles has flatlined at 16% since 2009, and just 4% of the UK tech workforce is currently BAME. How can technology reflect the needs of us all if it is built by so very few of us? And I lament daily the fantastic technology we could have if everyone's shoulder was to the wheel of innovation. And that also impacts the resilience, the openness, reach, and humanity of the tech sector. Diversity is not a nice to have tick box, it is a necessity. And if it is not diverse by design, it will be unequal by outcome. And unfortunately, that is what we are seeing. Tim Berners-Lee famously said he invented the web for everyone, but it is not everyone's web. Not everyone is on the web for a start. The digital divide excludes so many, or rather, the many and new and changing digital divides. And of those who are, not everyone is sharing in its benefits. For example, of the additional 5 billion that has been added to the UK e-commerce market during the pandemic, 2 billion has gone to Amazon, and Jeff Bezos' personal wealth has risen by 75 billion. This while the real high street struggles, and footfall on the digital high street is almost entirely controlled by Facebook and Google. This is one of the reasons why the benefits of the digital transformation are not being shared. Indeed, some economists argue digital drives inequality because networks have a tendency towards monopoly through network effects. Speaking now as a network engineer, I know networks can distribute power. Literally, that is what the electricity grid does. But they can also concentrate power. Boris Johnson learned that in the Bulletin Club Old Boys Network. My business as a Labour MP is to empower people. Now, long ago, before COVID, there was much talk of the tech clash. Indeed, I understand it was a major discussion point at Davos. What a world away that seems. But even as we welcome the great contribution tech is making to our society, we must also recognize that many suffer digital distrust. Fear that Alexa is selling your secrets, Facebook is pushing misinformation at your workmates, Google is recording your every move, government algorithms are misjudging you, your children are being deluged by porn or self-harm videos, your gran is being tricked out of her life savings by cyber scammers while your boss tracks your every keystroke in order to give your job to a robot. For much of my career in tech, it was boring, but respectable. Now, too often, it's seen as exciting and irresponsible. And whilst I think those who make technology need to take responsibility, it is primarily the responsibility of government to protect and empower people. I find it incredible that this government has done so little to either address the existing harms of our online life or protect us from future ones. There has not been one debate on this in government time in this internet age. Last week's backbench business debate saw MPs from all parties describe how the web can be a dark, challenging and inhospitable place. Content curated by the tech platforms does allow the spread of disinformation, sexual exploitation, fake news, extremism, hatred, and other harmful content, while data-driven business models place ever more extreme content in front of eyeballs. September saw the highest number of reports of child sexual abuse material ever received in a single month by the Internet Watch Foundation, whilst on TikTok, the hashtag vaccines are dangerous has had almost 800,000 views with almost no misinformation warnings. The fact is, regulation has not kept pace with technology, crime, or consumers, leaving growing numbers of people increasingly exposed to significant harms. But it doesn't have to be this way. Having worked as head of technology for Ofcom before coming into Parliament, I know that forward-looking, principles-based, competition-enabling, people-empowering innovation promoting robust regulation is possible. But we need to agree what the principles are. And that's why Labour recently held a public consultation, Our Digital Future. We spent the summer engaging with tech experts, civil society, entrepreneurs, and constituents, and we're now assessing the many hundreds of responses received, and the resulting report will be part of the vision we craft for the future of the UK and the policies which make it a reality. It's for government to ensure that everyone is part of this radical digital transformation, unlocking the power of technology and constraining the misuse of it. I know there are some in tech that think that legislators just get in the way, and there are libertarians arguing we don't need government if we have quad-core processing and blockchain. As startups, today's tech giants often had the approach that if you ignored government long enough, it would go away. Now they're spending hundreds of millions of pounds and dollars lobbying governments around the world against regulation. I like to say the opposite of regulation is not no regulation, it is bad regulation. We need to work together to deliver effectively on the transformative power of technology. I trust in the innovative and progressive power of tech to build a better, more prosperous, healthier, more equal and sustainable world. I look forward to it. That's the tech in which we should all trust. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Onwurah.